Hey folks, Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO. We are here this morning again at Maple Street Biscuit Company. I think you guys can probably see behind me the water is now here. This is great. You know, yesterday we talked about the fact that Maple Street is opening up their locations across the South, and yesterday's test that they did, phenomenal. Cisco just left. They're pouring in water, chicken breast. They've got collard greens, macaroni and cheese, biscuits, sanitizer, toilet paper. Literally, this is a company that's saying, we have joined the rebellion. We're not going to let this anxiety, this worry, the fear of the unknown keep us down. That's the exciting part that we're seeing here. So if you guys were on yesterday and we talked about this, we talked about the fact that there is across the globe right now in little communities, just like Destin, just like all of them, where people have said, you know what, we're going to listen, we're going to focus, we're going to do everything we can do to help our community. And it goes from Main Street entrepreneurs all the way to some of the big companies that are out there doing it right. And I know yesterday I was up at Publix getting some groceries, and they were so polite as they said, look, we're limiting the toilet paper, we're limiting tissue so that everybody can get some. That's the key. That's what we're going for. So today I want to talk about a journey from worry to confident hope, because this is what we need. And we need all of you guys joining the rebellion with us, where you're putting up memes, you're putting up posts, you're putting up YouTubes and lives, you're doing stuff daily that's going to push forward this positive interaction. You know, the more we socially distance from each other, the more we're driven to virtual worlds, the more we need to make sure that we're there for each other, because part of just human nature is to work together to help. I want to say that today, besides Maple Street being one of our sponsors, I also want to thank Business Matters. That's Charles Musgrove. He did a phenomenal interview yesterday with Ryan Chamberlain, who's running for U.S. Congressman out of Florida, talking about everything that is really focusing on this. We're going to be putting this interview up today sometime. Ryan is a musician and author, but more than that, he has been in the direct sales business most of his adult life. He's one of the top income earners, if not the top income earner over at Evolve. And he literally says, look, I want to make a difference. And this interview is phenomenal because they talk about the coronavirus, they talk about wages, they talk about Main Street business and what's going on. So I think everyone's really going to enjoy that interview. We'll get that up. But here's what we got to do. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, guys, as we looked at what Maple Street and some of the other companies are doing. We've got to take time to reset our own thinking. In other words, take control of all the freaky craziness that we're seeing in our thoughts, okay, more than anything else. I mean, because this is a time of uncertainty where some people are like freaking way out, other people aren't worrying about it at all. Many of you have said, why do you seem so confident in the way that you're doing the reports throughout the day? The fact that I'm not self-quarantined 24/7 in my house. We've taken some precautions. Let me share with you guys so that you understand some of the precautions. I mean, we carry hand sanitizer. I've got one in my pocket right here. We're keeping distance in the exposure that I have, whether I'm in the grocery store, whether I'm getting gas, doesn't matter. I've got Lysol in the truck so that we spray the vehicles where we need to. We've got wipes. Okay, we're using common sense, and that's what you guys have to do. I read an article yesterday talking about the geometric progression that's out there. And anybody that's in direct sales, anybody that's in sales at all, you understand geometric progression. And the fact that when you get a couple, those get a couple, that eventually you build out a pretty good network. Well, that's what they're looking at when the administration, when the Congress, when all these guys come together, the medical professionals come together and say, stop, we need you guys to distance because we need to mitigate the risk. That means they need to slow down the geometric progression of the growth. Because if we can do this, I think we're in day 4 or 5 of a 2-week quarantine, social distancing. If we can do that now, then here's what happens. we may lose attrition. You guys are watching understand attrition. We may see an attrition of the virus cases drop by 100,000, 200,000, a million. I don't know. But that's where the math comes into play. Forget everything else, just the math. So you guys do what you're supposed to do. I know today, 9 o'clock down here, both counties, we sit right in the middle of the county. Both counties are coming together to say, look, we're going to shut the beaches down since the kids won't go home. And that in and of itself, you guys have seen me driving around, showing you the beaches. These kids are just acting like there's nothing wrong at all. Love the millennials, but it's time that they act like adults, and it's time to get back home and chill out a little bit. So we're just going to shut the beaches down, shutting down some stuff. I think that's going to be a benefit to everybody. So here's what we want to do. I want you guys to take some notes this morning. I want you to focus in on doing some journaling yourself. You know, I use 3x5 cards, use little yellow notebooks. Doesn't matter what you do. Here's what you got to do. You've got to take control of the thoughts that you're having. Now, I'm not trying to get into mumbo jumbo, you know, all this new age stuff that I don't have a clue about. What I'm saying is every day we are bombarded with constant information on the net, constant information on the news. We're checking the notifications on our phones, and we're saying, okay, what do I believe? What don't I believe? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to deal with this? And this is what you need to do. You need to just stop. I told you guys this yesterday. You've got to decompress. You've got to detach. You've got to do a benevolent detachment is the technical term for that. But you just got to shut it down. Put your phone down. Turn off the laptop and take a second to breathe. Just take a pause on this for a minute. Now, this isn't nothing new. This isn't rocket science. Some of you guys that have been, you know, I don't know, we've been doing this 15 years. Some of you guys know I talk about this on a regular basis because it's our thoughts that control everything else. I am married to one of the most thought-provoking females in the world. As an author of, I don't know, 20, 30 books, bestseller, her mind's constantly creating stories. And as she puts these stories together, we sometimes just have to decompress and say, hey, let's think this through a little bit. Because that's what our minds will do. And if we don't take control of those, then they just get out of hand. I lost an associate and a friend this week to depression. And this is a rambunctious guy, awesome guy, top of his career, and it just got too much. The anxiety got too much for him. And that's why it's one of the reasons this is so important is you have to decompress. Now think a minute, what do we do? We'll set boundaries, okay? How many minutes or hours are you going to skim through Facebook? Lower that little by little, okay? Bring that down. Focus on who you're talking to. Now, you hear that all the time, you know, when you're looking at prospects and you're doing stuff like that. Think about this for a minute. Are you talking to people that are going to actually help? I mean, how many of you know how many small businesses in your area are actually driving into the community? They're actually helping the community out. That's why we talk about Maple Street so much. Cracker Barrel's going to be doing some stuff. Some others are going to be doing some stuff. So you've got to look at this from that facet. You've got to be looking. Matter of fact, this is what you need. Look for positive information in this. Now, some of you guys, it's fun to watch Facebook and all these social profiles. You guys get so wrapped up in politics that even during the time of trauma like you're in right now, you guys are still trying to throw eggs at each other about, well, it's the Democrats' fault, it's the Republicans' fault. You know, they're the ones that caused this. You know, you get wrapped up in such stupid, ignorant stuff like, oh my gosh, the president called it the Chinese virus, he must be racist. Hey, get off this crap, okay? Why don't you focus in on what you can do in your local community? Okay, how can you help people? Because Americans, whether you guys realize it or not, don't come out of mama's womb as a Republican or a Democrat. They come out of mama's womb, they come into the little baby chamber, mama's breastfeeding them, and guess what? They're Americans, or they're Chinese, or they're Italians, or they're Spaniards, or they're wherever they come from. So freaking stop this crap and go out there and say, hey, what can we do in our community? How can we help? One of the things you can do is get out of the doggone house. You got a backyard, you got a front yard. If you're like us, we got woods all over the place. I'm gonna go back to the house a little later. I'm gonna go into the woods, we're gonna walk, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna do some homeschooling. Okay, that's part of what you're going to do. Mel Atwood, just a man, one of my mentors, he's a brother. When he wants to decompress and get totally away from all the minutia of everything, board games. He loves board games, or if it's summertime, he may go up to Lake Powell with the family and chill out. This is what you've got to do. One of my other mentors, Richard Brook, he loves to get in his boat or get on a plane or go to the golf course or get in the golf cart with Kimmy and just drive around the island that they live on. Okay, everybody's got different things that they want to do. When Paige decompresses, she says, run me a bath, I'm just going to go veg out. Find what it is that helps you to decompress. Now, here's one that I think you guys can relate to all the time. I want you to think back to some of the most powerful music that you ever listened to. Was it REO Speedwagon? Was it ZZ Top? Was it Earth, Wind, and Fire? Look, I don't care what it was. Maybe it was Frank Sinatra. Go back and start listening to that music, because that's going to help you decompress too. It's going to give you that time off a little bit. I told you guys yesterday we got a couple of apps that we've seen out there. The Abide app and the Pause app, both great apps for you just to take a breather. Find something that works for you. Listen to podcasts that are uplifting, positive. This is a time for you to gain some education. What is it that you've been procrastinating on? Take some time to get that done. And if you wonder, Troy, I just don't know. Here again, I want you to take some notes. These are small notes because I think it's going to help you out a little bit on what's going on. Your brain, every human brain, is alike. And we do one of three things with our brain. This is just, it's intuitive. It's burning calories, so it's either going to burn calories to benefit you, or it's going to burn calories not to benefit you. Because the brain will look for a fight, flight, or it freezes. In most cases, during trauma, if it's personal physical trauma, we tend to freeze or flee. We tend to take off. Okay, we don't fight. Okay, if it's trauma that we're looking at, if it's trauma we hear about, we seem to run toward it. Think about how many times you've gone by an accident on the road. You don't keep your eyes straight ahead. You slow down and you start looking at it. And then what happens? How many other wrecks do you see? Because where your eyes go, where your mind goes, so do you. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You have to start. You've got to look past. You've got to keep going through the horizon and say, okay, we're going to get out of the other side of this. What are we going to do now to get through that? Well, you're going to see what you can do to help your community. Okay, you're going to be putting out some positive stuff for your community. Every person that's probably watching this has some type of a group for their neighborhood. They've got some kind of platform that's a neighborhood. I know neighborhood.com, I think, is one that a lot of these neighborhoods are using now. Get on there and start helping people. Start focusing on that. If you see somebody on there that says, hey, my mom lives here and she needs some food. Hey, you can take food to the front door. You don't have to talk to them. Just take some front door, say, we love you. Boom, go on out there. And you may be looking at that actually and saying, oh, Troy's telling me to love people. Tim Sanders, one of my mentors, he's done great stuff at Yahoo and all these other companies in the years past, wrote a phenomenal book called Love is the Killer App. And when you take the time to just show compassion, show mercy, go out there and help people, that's what happens. All of a sudden, we're not freaking out anymore. We're not, oh my gosh, the sky's falling. We're saying, look, we got this, because we, the people on the ground in any country out there, and I've got some guys in Great Britain that I talk to constantly because we're trying to figure out what's the economy, what's going on, how can we serve each other, how can we help teams. That's what we do. So all over the place, we're talking to people. We got people in, of all places, Iran. We got people in the Mideast. We got them in Africa. We're constantly communicating. Hey, what is going on there? What can we get out? What story do you need out? Can you tag me and stuff? That's what this is about, is moving this forward. So let me look at a couple other things that we've got on here. Write it down right now. What do I enjoy for fun and relaxation? Maybe you say, gosh, Troy, I just want to watch ESPN. Okay, there's no new games on. Go out there and watch some of the others. Go back and watch the Super Bowl of 1969. Go out and watch whatever you want to do. Take the time to relax. Some of you guys, now listen, Mama's been harping at you guys to clean the garage. Take some time to clean the garage. Why don't you settle down and take some time to find out what Mama's goals are? What does she want to accomplish when she comes out of this? sit down and spend some time with your kids. What are they wanting to do? Where are they wanting to go? I'm getting some great time with Jetty and the girls right now as we just look at stuff, figure out what's going on. That's the key. I think we're going to close. I think that's my notes. But I want you guys to do this. Focus in on how you can help your community. Become part of the rebellion, okay? And you, oh, Troy, there you go, using one of those words again. Yeah, because we're going to dominate this thing. We're going to go out of our way, men and women, to say, look, we're not going to take this anymore. We're tired of the dull, negative, disillusioned crybabies all the time saying the sky is falling. Look, we know there's a pandemic. We know there's a freaking virus out there. We know the economy is tipsy-turvy. So what? If we're all in the same boat, what's it matter? You've got to suck it up, just like not Cracker Barrel, well, they own it, but what Maple Street has done. Look at what you can do. Figure out what you can put out. Can we put out water and help the people out? Can we go ahead and put out chicken breast and help the people out? Can we make up some lasagnas? What is it that you can do to help in your community? Because it's community driven. It's not driven by the doggone media. It's not driven by politicians. Okay, it's driven right here at home with what you want to do. And I have 4 things, and a lot of you guys know this. I have 4 tattoos written across my hands. And on my right hand, it says, act justly, walk humbly, love mercy. And on my right hand, it says, love wins. And if you just take those 4 phrases and you write them down, act justly. In other words, I'm not going to go hoard a bunch of stuff and try to sell it on Amazon. I'm not going to go hoard a bunch of stuff and not have it for my community. Act justly. Okay? Walk humbly. Go out of your way to help other people. Love is real easy when you just say, man, I'm just going to treat people the way I want to be treated. Doesn't mean you get walked on, doesn't mean you walk over, doesn't mean that you go, let people beat on you. What I'm saying is you got to show that compassion and mercy. And that's my 3rd one, love mercy. Go out of your way to say, what can I do? And I'm going to talk to the men for a second. Okay, a lot of times you guys are just a-holes. Okay, I don't know how else to say it. Because I am one. So you're not thinking through and listening to your wife. You're not thinking through and listening to your kids. They need to know it's going to be okay. They need to know, hey, you're on top of this. Okay, that's the name of the game. If you know, I got one of my baby girls, Cassie. I'm so proud of her because she's saying, look, I know that it can be dangerous. I know that it's crazy, but I've got parents that need somebody to watch their kids. That she loves kids to get her teaching degree, so she's babysitting for some people. She's doing what she needs to do in her community to help her community. That's what we all need to do. That's the name of the game. And then love wins. At the other side of this thing, no matter what all of the propaganda is, no matter what the truth is, no matter what all of the conspiracy theories is, none of that stuff matters. What matters is if we come together in our local communities, similar to what we're seeing the politicians do right now. I hope you guys realize if you do watch a little bit of the news, you hear the word bipartisan all the time. Hey, we're all coming together, we're all working. Here's the reason why. No matter what all the crap is that you hear on the top, okay, these guys are Americans at heart. They may see America in a different way. They may be a little bit more conservative or liberal, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you know what they're doing? They're coming together to say, what can we do to help we the people? So again, go out of your way today. Focus on this. We're going to do, this afternoon, we've got literally a brand new podcast we're going to be doing this afternoon. Again, it'll be a live. I may be out on the road, may not be. And when you guys see me on the road, you guys need to understand I am going down a back road, beach road, about 5 miles an hour. Okay, it's so crowded on that beach road. So it gives me time to really focus on the road, but yet focus on giving you guys something. So this is the deal, man. Go out there, live life like it's an epic adventure. Stay dangerous, stay strong, and focus in on what you can do in your communities. We'll see you this afternoon.